Yes, it is very beautiful and looks great, but at the same time it is very strenuous work on yourself, on your body and even on your mind. I think that an artist who does not feel fear is no longer an artist. There must be excitement for anyone to go on stage, because it's a tough task and a huge responsibility. Airy breakoffs, spinning rings and belt stunts are just mesmerizing. But what are they worth? Our heroes will tell our viewers about this in today's program. Hi friends! Hello! What are your names? What will you tell us today? I am Alina, Glib. My name is Masha. Today you will learn about aerial gymnasts and everything connected with them.
Про все и про всех.
There are many well-known cases when gymnasts broke down and their career suddenly ended. Are you not scared of this? Of course, it is quite scary that you can fall and get injured. We all experience this process, so you must be more self-confident and train harder. And I think that when you make an element, you should be so confident in it that the height should not matter. When we started to do this, we understood that we would fall. But this is our work, and there is no flight without falling, as they say. You work without a safety wire. We work only without safety wire, since there is no way to simply attach this wire, because it will interfere, so there is always a risk. With this wire you don't feel alive. Aerial gymnastics is mostly work at heights and flying under high domes. This is about performing tricks in the air. I believe that in Ukraine aerial gymnastics is developing quite rapidly. There are a lot of talented children engaged in aerial gymnastics in children's circus studios. There are a lot of children's circus festivals and children's studios in Ukraine and Russia. First of all, there are a lot of circuses in which there are favorable conditions and very friendly and experienced teachers. I started doing circus art when I was 4 years old. My mother brought me to a children's circus studio, the old circus in Kharkiv, and we trained in the old circus. And since that time, I fell in love with the circus. I started to practice air gymnastics around the age of 7, and since that time I have continued practicing. I was always very much captivated by air tricks and aerial gymnasts. I was totally fascinated by this art form and had the desire to engage in it. I started practicing air gymnastics at the age of 8. My mother took me to a circus studio, and there I started training with a coach. Since my childhood, I dreamed of performing on the circus arena, and so I asked my mother to take me to the circus studio. She tried to discourage me. She asked me, why it's dangerous without a safety wire. But it didn't stop me for some reason. This is the height and the feeling of flight, lightness. I started training very late at the age of 15. Before that, my mother and father said to me, "You are overweight, go into gymnastics." I didn't like it at first because it was physically difficult. I was totally out of shape and it was very hard for me. But over time I began to get used to it. There was a time when my father invited me to go with him to Germany to see how aerialists perform there in belts, and after that experience, it has become my favorite sport. I saw these huge and healthy men flying through the air. I was inspired and I decided that I really wanted to do what they were doing, and to this day I still do it, and this is what fires me up and inspires me.
Сначала шутили.
Friends, at first they were joking, saying I was like an air donut.
At
At first, they did not support me. They did not understand what I was doing. They said that only girls do aerial exercises, but I proved that I was better. I invited them to my performances, and they liked them and said, "Keep it up."
Двигайся в том же направлении.
Реквизитов воздушных очень много.
There are a lot of requirements in aerial exercises. The most standard ones are a ring, canvases, loops,
И сейчас очень много всего
corps de
интересного.
volant, and now a lot of new interesting elements are starting to appear and are developing.
Конфигурации.
For example, chains are used, some new group tricks appear.
Воздушные номера. Я никогда не
I can never name the most complex air prop here because there are both difficult and light elements on each prop. The most popular air props are, of course, the ring and canvases. I believe that if you are an aerial gymnast and you have not mastered the ring and canvases, then somehow you can perform with your main prop and most favorite prop. It can be loops, corps de volant, or something original. Nevertheless, the ring and canvases are the basic elements. I started circus with an illusion. Then my first air prop was bamboo. I had a partner and I was lower. She held me in her hands and then we went the loop, the ring and the canvases, a synchronized performance of a trio. We worked together with the girls and this performance existed for 7 years. During this time we worked together, began to feel each other and did almost everything perfectly. I worked in parallel, we worked in a trio, but each of us worked separately as a solo. I'm currently working with loops, because I believe that on the loops there's much more imagination, new elements and new tricks that you can think of. New breakoffs, and you can really invent something new that nobody had ever done before. I started on the ring and now continue on the ring. Try something else? I chose the ring and it suits me well, and that is all there is to it. It somehow chose me and I chose it, so I strongly felt that there cannot be an alternative. One can show all of their possibilities and flexibility on a ring. I don't like performing on other props. I tried on the corps de volant and tried on the canvases. Well, it seems to me that there are too many canvases now, and that is why I prefer performing on the ring. On the canvas, it is not as painful as on the ring. The canvas is made of cloth, while the ring is iron.
Так как я ремнист, мой любимый жанр ремни. Ремни, так как это...
My favorite genre is belts. This is a male genre. All men who want to be air gymnasts go there.
идут туда. Но сейчас...
But today there are no smart belt athletes. This genre is very tough.
Потому что этот жанр,
It cuts your hands. They constantly bleed.
Постоянно кровь.
You do not have enough strength, and you need to spend a lot of time to learn some new techniques. You have to burn with this prop to the point that you like it so much, and so that you achieve some positive results from it. I tried to work in a pair on the corps de volant with a young lady. And it did not go well, because after all, it is work in a pair. As a guy, you are distracted as you pay more attention to the girl. So I want to work alone and become better at what I do. For this reason, I chose the solo route in the end. Aerial gymnastics can be learned in almost any town or city. There are a lot of circus studios now, which accept children from the age of 5. I think if you want to start training circus art, then you need to start doing it as early as possible. It is much harder when you get older. Since childhood, I have been training 6 days a week for 3 to 4 hours a day. I came to the studio, we had a warm-up, we did leg splits, stretched, swayed of course. And we had free aerial time. We hung our air props. turned on the music, surely to the music in any way we want it. It inspires you and creates a working atmosphere. You're already putting accents and musically working. This is how we trained. Each one invented something of their own, with some of their specific elements. In this circus academy we come to train, there's no longer just aerial gymnastics, but many different genres, juggling, equilibrium, there's a full package of events to take part in together. In aerial gymnastics, the complexity of the work lies in the technique. You have to work out. Here it's not enough to make an element, just a trick. When you combine them one by one, transitions and bundles, then a performance is connected. It needs to be worked out and worked up so that everything goes smoothly and turns. Many people make some elements strong, but at the same time, they can no longer combine many elements into one and the same performance. I personally had difficulty in the fact that we had a lot of people, we had a lot of competition, a lot of strong aerial gymnasts, and I constantly looked at my idols, aerial gymnasts, my role models, and I always thought I should do something cooler, something more spectacular, something that was more fascinating for the audience. When I was 8 years old, I went to a circus studio. There I was trained in aerial gymnastics, and it was there that I trained and prepared to enter the Kyiv Academy of Variety and Circus Arts. To enter the academy, there were 3 rounds. The first round was to show your physical training. You had to do pull-ups, exercises on the bar, ensure your flexibility and stretching. The second round was acting. It was necessary to show some etude, tell a fable, dance or sing a song. The third round was held especially for passing the general education exams. When I just started doing aerial gymnastics, it was very difficult for me to overcome the fear of heights. It took me a very long time to get used to the ring. This lasted for about 2 months, and only after that I started to engage in some specific exercises and perform some tricks. But then I overcame it, and now all is well. The last trick I had been rehearsing for a long time, it was hanging on one toe and doing a pull-up. I spent a very long time rehearsing it because you start training. Your toe starts to bleed. You can't do this exercise for a week until the wound heals, and then you have to repeat it again. I trained in a usual gym. One half was iron to buff up, the other was just a suspension device, which is a beam for artistic aerial gymnasts. There I was trained by one coach. I couldn't even pull myself up when I started practicing on belts. And now 2 years have passed, and I just started doing some exercises. Thank God, I was accepted to the academy after these 2 years. Honestly, I cannot remember my first performance because it was 5 or 6 years old. There were group numbers. We all ran around together, did some kinds of somersaults, cartwheels, and then sat down on leg splits. Ideas for performances appear somehow unexpectedly. Basically, I'm inspired by music. I find a track, I listen to it, and I just want to make a performance that is appropriate. I can see it in the subway, listening to music to which I want to do a performance. And I then somehow get the idea of some new trick, some new element. Then I come to the gym and naturally try to implement my idea. I had a lot of performances, but the brightest thing that I remember is probably when I performed in a circus. Because I used to perform only on stages, where the audience was sitting just in front. But on the arena, the audience is on every side. From there, I got some kind of new sensations. And that was when I ascended to a higher and respectable level. The first performance was not held at the arena. My studio proposed to me and I danced even earlier. It was essentially my debut and it was very difficult. When I went on stage, I was shaking like a leaf before the audience. I had doubts about my performance to the point that I did not want to invite my family or loved ones to not show them my shame. But in the end, when I went onto the stage and touched my props, I really felt the power that I could do everything and all was well. When I made a compliment, the audience applauded. This was my inspiration to life and art.
В жизнь и толчок в это искусство.
I was glad to meet you. We were also glad to meet you. Come to the circus. And I invite you to visit our academy. Bye.
До встречи. Пока-пока.